Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John McKew. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Herefords Australia. And on behalf of the Australian delegation here to the World Hereford Conference 2016 in Uruguay, it is my pleasure to present to you the Australia Country Report. What I'd like to do is start with an overview of the Australian beef industry, and the proviso or the caveat on this is information provided by our Meat and Livestock Australia, which is the farmer-funded levy organisation that gets involved in a number of projects, including research and development projects. So these are forecast numbers to the 30th of June 2016, which does state that the national beef herd in Australia will be at 26.179 million head of cattle, which is down 5.4% on the 2015 herd. 7.6 million head of cattle are forecast to be slaughtered, which is down 16% on 2015. 2.174 million tonnes at carcass weight is the forecast production in 2016, which will be down 13% on 2015. And 1.55 million tonnes of carcass weight will be exported, which is down 18% on 2015. Some additional information just about our beef industry. In terms of exports, the top 5 export destinations are the USA, Japan, Korea, China and Canada. We also talk about the Middle East probably is coming in at number 5, but we use that as a collective. The Australian cattle herds declined to 26 million head in 2016 has witnessed, rather unusually, a sequence of 2 consecutive years of a 5% reduction, highlighting the extreme impact of high periods of dry in some of our largest cattle producing regions. Australia, unfortunately, continues to live up to its reputation of being the driest continent on Earth, and that is having an effect on the Australian beef industry and other agricultural industries. We're not expecting a return to growth in our national beef herd until at least 2018. Per capita consumption of beef in Australia is 27.5 kilograms per person, and that's actually declining by about 3% a year at this stage. So as an industry, we have some challenges certainly ahead of us. If we start considering Herefords in Australia, and these are 2015 numbers, we are the second largest beef breed society based on cattle registrations of the 45 beef breeds that are registering cattle in Australia. We account Herefords for approximately 12.5% of total registrations, or 24,400 animals. And we have approximately 1,500 members of Herefords Australia, and that includes the classes of full, life, commercial and youth. Unfortunately, due to a whole range of factors, we still see an annual decline in the number of members and also in the number of registrations. But if there is a silver lining to that, that number has slowed, but we would like to see it slow further. If we talk about and consider what Herefords Australia's focus and strategy are, probably on top of the list, and I'd say without any doubt, would be to create increased demand for Hereford genetics from the commercial producer and the commercial sector. Now to do that, and I'll talk about some of the programs we are employing to achieve that shortly in more detail. But broadly what we need to do is we need to produce more productive, more profitable cattle to make them attractive, of course, to the commercial sector. We also need to undertake, and we are undertaking, targeted research and development programs. We need to embark on education and information programs to inform the commercial producers. We need to market and communicate our benefits and the strengths of the Hereford breed, and we need to back that by fairly robust science. And more recently, over the last 2 to 3 years in particular, Herefords Australia has embarked on building a Hereford brand presence in the minds, and more importantly perhaps the palates, of consumers. and that is a long-term project for the organisation. Let's just delve now a little bit more deeply into some of these programs that are at the core of what we do at Hereford, Australia. Our progeny test project is now up to cohort 6, and in 2017 we'll see the cohort 6 drop-off calves hit the ground from the progeny test project. This project continues to deliver a mechanism to identify superior performing bulls, but as important, it also delivers a system to us to collect and analyse hard-to-measure traits. And those I'm talking about, for example, is a range of carcass traits and also net feed intake. We also embarked a couple of years ago on a black baldy crossbreeding trial, taking a lead from what our friends at the American Hereford Association were able to achieve with their programs of some years ago. In June, July 2016, we will see the second cohort of heifers and cows in that program actually calving. And this is a project from our perspective which is designed to capture, measure and validate the value of hybrid vigour from the black baldy crossbred, including the progeny, and we're talking about steers in the project through to slaughter, and the all-important maternal value of the black baldy female, and that's very important to us. Not surprisingly, when I talk about Hereford's been the second largest breed in the country, Angus is the largest, and I assume most of you would have put that together yourselves. But what we see with a large Angus population, of course, from a Hereford perspective, is a very big opportunity to introduce Hereford genetics into those large commercial herds. But to do that, we really need to be able to provide some value around what is it that hybrid vigour is going to deliver. And I know there's been plenty of research projects, including the American, but we felt that it was actually quite necessary for us to have our own data regarding the value of the black baldy, and that's the reason for the project. I'll put performance recording up there because it's an ongoing project and focus for Herefords Australia. Increasingly, we want to see greater participation in performance recording, a greater number of traits recorded by our members, and that's not to suggest that we aren't doing quite well. We are doing very well in the number of traits we do measure, but we can do better. And the more traits that we can continue and the more data we can continue to record within the breed plan system, we know that will lift the accuracy of our EBVs and also gives us an opportunity, we believe, of course, to market the value of our genetics more strongly throughout the Australian beef industry. So that will continue to be a strong focus, and one of the great benefits of a conference like this is the conversations you can have with your counterparts from around the world, which we have started and which we will continue over the next couple of days. One of the benefits we see from a conference like this is to try and develop those relationships and start to talk about greater collaboration, which we did this morning in sharing data, genomic data, phenotypic data with other Hereford producing countries around the world. And the holy grail, I think, in terms of this breed, and certainly for Herefords Australia, is to have a greater international analysis. And I think that will offer to us, particularly in Australia, but I also believe strongly right around the world for other countries, a significant opportunity to lift our rate of genetic gain within the Hereford breed. As a number of my colleagues have also pointed out in their presentation, genomics, of course, is front and centre, I think, for most of us, and that's probably very encouraging news that what is still an emerging technology is being at least considered, if not adopted, in various levels, and we are doing the same. Herefords Australia has developed a roadmap which will lay out the path ahead for us to start embracing more rapidly a move to genomics. We are, like many of you, also considering the move from microsatellite to SNP-based testing, and that will have to happen, and it will happen. And we're waiting with great anticipation for the arrival of single-step BLUP analysis. And I know we'll have Dr. Robert Banks from Agaboo here tomorrow, and that will be part of his presentation. And that is something also, that blending of the phenotypic and genotypic data through a single step, we believe again is a very important step forward for the Hereford breed, and certainly the Hereford breed in Australia. The Hereford branded beef program has been going about 2.5 years, and it has not been without its challenges and continues to present some challenges to myself, the organisation and the board. But once again, we are committed to producing a Hereford branded beef program and products in the Australian market for the long term. Cannot underestimate the importance we see, and I'm sure many of you in this room have already realised, and I note encouragingly the number of branded beef programs that a number of you have already got up and running. For us, it is about making sure we can create a presence for that beef breed and that beef brand called Herefords in the minds of Australian consumers, and preferably worldwide as well. Angus have done a pretty good job of this, and there's no doubt about that. I don't think anyone would argue with me, but it has become quite ubiquitous, and we believe that there is real opportunity within our own marketplace, and we know that from talking to the trade and through the processors or the packers, that this is a real opportunity for us, and we must continue to focus some attention and some resources into our Hereford branded beef program, and we will do that. On the last couple of slides, I just want to focus on something that we believe is very important for Herefords Australia, and that we're quite proud of what we've been able to achieve. Marketing has long been a thorn in our side, particularly from our members who are never short on giving us an opinion about how badly they think we might be marketing the Hereford breed. And that criticism is fine, and it gives you an impetus to try and do something about that. And we have, through the appointment of an external, actually, marketing and communications consultant who does a lot of work for us and has done some terrific work for us. But I want to talk quickly about social media. Increasingly for us in Hereford Australia, social media is far more important than traditional media, than the papers. Much more important and of greater focus for us. Why? Because of the reach, the immediacy, the cost effectiveness, the convenience. It is ubiquitous, and the penetration of social media. Herefords Australia today has 1,300 plus Twitter followers, 3,975 plus Facebook followers. We've only been on Instagram for a short period of time, but we're growing very quickly there. And whatever is next, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of social media, we need to be there and be there as quickly as we possibly can. In terms of our social media platforms, I'm reliably told that Herefords Australia now is probably about the second leading agricultural organisation in Australia on social media, only outpaced by our Meat and Livestock Australia Association, which has a dedicated communications team, which we certainly don't have. I haven't forgotten about the web, and it's interesting, the reports of, to use a quote from Mark Twain, the reports of my death have been exaggerated. And there has been talk in the media recently about the demise of the World Wide Web, or how less important it may be becoming. I think that's a little probably premature. The Herefords Australia website is still the hub of our communications and marketing program. It does link and provides a very important platform across our social media, and it certainly is the central repository for our traditional media and communications activity. Our media releases, our internal announcements to our membership, news, information, sales event, we still use our website for all that. So it remains, from my point of view and the organisation's point of view, a very important tool, although it is a tool that we are considering that does need some refreshing and renewing, as often these things do, just to keep them up to speed and contemporary, make sure the ease of use. And interestingly, to augment what we're doing with the Black Baldy crossbreeding trial, we're very soon to launch our own Black Baldy website. The address is there, www.blackbaldy.com.au. Finally, just to echo the sentiment of my counterparts in the World Hereford Congress who have already presented and those still to come to present, To Hereford, Uruguay, our sincere thanks for putting on this conference. We know that there's an enormous amount of work involved in pulling something like this together, particularly with the number of delegates, and it is terrific to see so many Hereford people here for this conference in Uruguay. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and best wishes for the rest of the conference.